Hey guys, welcome back everybody. Most of the people know about the BTP protocol. It's a layer 2 protocol, right? And it has a basically three modes that most of the people know that transparent, client, and server. By default, the BTP has a server mode. But apart from these three modes, right, another mode we have is called as a BTP off mode. Basically, in this off mode, what we are doing that we are just disabling the VTP on that particular devices, right? So another mode we have a transparent, but there is a major difference between the transparent and BTP off mode, because I have seen that many person has a confusion about the BTP transparent and versus off mode. Most of the people are saying that, hey, if you're going to configure as a BTP as a transparent mode, it means that you are disabling the BTP. It doesn't mean that you are disabling the BTP. BTP is still enabled over there. If you're going to configure the BTP mode as off, it means that you're going to disable the BTP. So let's see. This is my topology. You can have see that switch one, switch two, switch three, and I don't have any configuration right now. It's a totally new box. So what I can do that first, I'll configure the host name, right? So switch one host name will be switch one. Same thing. I'm going to configure the switch two as a host name, right? And the switch three host name will be switch three. The most important thing now what? BTP, if you look for the name of the BTP, saying that it's a VLAN trunking protocol. Again, it's not a trunking protocol. Most of the people has a confusion about this thing. Hey, VLAN is a BTP is a trunking protocol. BTP is not a trunking protocol. To exchange the BTP packets, your links should be trunk. It means that BTP packets are only exchanged on the trunk port, not on the access port. For example, this is my trunk interface, which is 0/0, and this is 0/0. And we have a PC over there. That's my 0/1. That's my access port. Again, this is the another PC we have 0/1. That's my again access port. So on this particular access port, we are not gonna exchange the BTP packets. We are only gonna exchange the BTP packets on the trunk interface. The reason is that to exchange the BTP packets, we need an encapsulation protocol. It could be the 80.1q, or you can go with the ISL as well. So the first and major requirement, right, to exchange the VTP information, we need to make this interface as a trunk. And second thing is that you need to define the domain name. So let's define the switch one, and I'm gonna configure this guy. Or either let's start with the switch two. I'll just say the interface range is 0/0 to 1. So I'm gonna make this two interface as a trunk. Automatically, what happens? Switch one and switch three will negotiate the trunking. Switch port trunk encapsulation .1q protocol and switch port mode trunk. Right now, if you see the do show interface trunk, I do must have a trunk. So both the interface is trunking we have, and we are using the encapsulation protocol is a 80.1q. How about switch one now? Let's configure the BTP domain name. So as the BTP domain name, by default, the domain name is null. So I'll just say the CCIE. Okay. So what happened? The switch one is going to send the BTP packet. Switch two will negotiate this domain name if the domain name is null configured on the switch two, which is by default. So if you see on the switch two, they will negotiate this domain name as a CCIE, and even the switch three as well. So sometimes it takes some time. So if not, so you need to wait for some time, or either you can do one thing, just define the domain name manually. No need to wait for the 1 minute and 30 seconds more than. So now if you see do so BTP status, I have all the domain names same. So right, it means that they all are belong to the single domain right now. They all are belong to the single domain. That's a CCI domain name. Right now, the default mode of the VTP is what? It's a server. So if you see the do so VTP status, the default mode is a server. Even if you see on the switch 2 as well, the default VTP mode is server, and even the switch 1 as well, switch 3 as well. Right? So what I can do that first understand the concept of the transparent mode, then we'll jump to the off mode, right? So I simply gonna configure this guy's a server, which is by default, and this guy's a client, and this guy's a transparent, right? So normally what happened, right? If you're gonna configure the VLAN information 10 over there, then what happened? The switch one is gonna share this information to the switch two, right? The behavior of the switch 2 is what? Because he's a transparent mode. In the transparent mode, right, you can create the VLAN. In a transparent mode, you can create the VLAN. You can delete the VLAN. You can pass the VLAN information, right? But you cannot synchronize the VLAN information. It means that if I'm going to create the VLAN on the switch 1, right, switch 1 will share the BTP information to the switch 2. Switch 2 only have a ability to pass the information. They can do the create and delete, but only local to the switch only, right? But they cannot synchronize it. Synchronize means what? They cannot take this VLAN 10 information in the database table. They will just pass this information to the switch 3. So eventually what happened, you have a VLAN number 10 over here and VLAN number 10 over here, but not on the switch 2. That's a behavior of the transparent. So if you see, let me add this guy as a BTP mode transparent, and how about this guy BTP mode client. So if you go on a switch 1 and say that, hey, listen, I'm going to create the VLAN number 10 over there. And if you see, do so VLAN brief, I have a VLAN 10 on the switch 1, right? But I don't have on a switch 2, right? But if you see on the switch 3, I do have. I'm so sorry. Right? So if I'm going to create the VLAN number 10, 20, and 30 as well, take example. The both information, the 20 and 10, 20 and 30 information will be flooded to the switch 2. Switch 2 is a transparent mode. They cannot synchronize the VLAN information. They can just pass this VLAN information to the switch 3. Hey, this is the 10, 20 and 30. So now the switch 3 will have a 20 and 30. Right? That's the meaning of the fourth one. Not synchronize and the pass the information. Now, how about the 1 and 2? The create and delete, but only to the local to the switch. So if you go to the switch 2 right now, if I'm going to create any VLANs, right? For example, VLAN number 500 or VLAN 600, right? I'm only going to create on the local to the switch on a 500 and 600. I'm not going to pass this information to the any devices. So if you see on the switch 2 right now, I do have a 500 and 600, but I'm not sharing this information to the anybody, right? If you see the do so VLAN brief, I don't have. Even if you check on the switch 1, I don't have. So that's a beauty of the transparent. So again, transparent means it doesn't mean that you are disabling the BTP, right? It doesn't mean that you are disabling the BTP. You can do everything, right? But only local to the switch. Only the major part is what? You're not synchronizing the VLAN information over here. Now, how about the off mode? So take example, off mode means what? You are just disabling the BTP protocol. You are just disable the BTP protocol. BTP is by default enabled on the Cisco devices. I'm talking about the Cisco IOS. By default, the Cisco IOS, what happened? The BTP is enabled on the later switches, right? So what you can do that, if you want to disable the BTP behavior, right, you need to enable the off mode over there. So for example, right, let me now convert this guy into the server, and already this guy's a client, and this is the transparent right now. I'm just gonna go on a switch 2 and say that, hey, listen, I said the interface is just, take example, I'm gonna disable the BTP over there, right? I said the BTP disable, no BTP. So I just say that no BTP now over there, and you can see that if I'm gonna go on a switch 1, right? And now if I'm gonna say that, hey, VLAN number 700, take example, do show VLAN brief. I have a VLAN 700 on the switch 1, right? Whatever the switch 2 now, he will share this information to the switch 2 say that, hey, I'm in the transparent mode. I cannot synchronize the VLAN. How about the, will I able to pass this information over there? No, because the BTP is disabled on this particular interface, right? I said the no BTP. It means that the switch 3 will not have a VLAN 700 information. I don't have. I just give the 700 on the switch 1. He's going to share this information to the switch 2. Switch 2 doesn't have the ability to synchronize it when he's trying to pass the VLAN, but he see that, hey, the VTP is disabled on that particular interface. So he's not able to pass this information to the switch 3. So if you check on the switch 2 right now, do show VTP status. It's a transparent still, but only I have disabled the VTP on that particular interface. So if you have a look, so VTP, I have a interface ETH0/1. Can you see that? The BTP is disabled on that particular interface. But if you check on the same another interface, right, the BTP is enabled. So try to understand the major difference between the transparent and off mode is what? Transparent doesn't mean that you are disabling the BTP. Still enable, right? If you're gonna enable, if you're gonna change the mode is the VTP is off, then what happened on that particular interface? Then I'm gonna disable the VTP protocol over there. Now, this is the one way that you can disable the VTP on a per interface basis. For example, if you want to globally disable the VTP, right? Let's take another scenario. What I can do that. I'm gonna make this guy a client now. So let me first enable the VTP. Interface is 0/1. I said the VTP and do so VTP status. Still the transparent is there. I'm gonna change this guy in the client mode. So I said the VTP mode is what? Client. Now, if you see, if I'm gonna create the VLAN number 800, right, on the switch 1, if I'm going to the VLAN number 800 on the switch 1, what switch 1 will do that? It will share this information to the switch 2, the 800 information. I'm the client, right? I can have this information 800 on the switch 2, and the switch 2 will pass on this information to the switch 3, because the behavior of the client mode is what? I can pass the information and I can synchronize the information, but I cannot create and delete the information, not even modify the information. So if you see on the switch 2, will have a 800 and switch 3 will have a 800 as well. Do so VLAN brief. 800 we have, and this guy also do so VLAN brief. 800 we have. But you know what happened? Now my requirement is changed, right? What my requirement is that I'm gonna completely disable the BTP on the switch 2. I don't want to share any information, right? Switch 2 is saying that, hey, I'll be like a isolated guy. Okay. I don't want to hear the any BTP packets from there. I don't want to hear the any BTP packets from there, right? So I'm just gonna disable the BTP on this particular device. So in that case, you do have an ability. So previous case, what we have seen that we just went to the interface and say that, no BTP. It means that you are disabling the BTP for a particular interface. Now you do have ability, right? What you can do that you can simply disable the BTP on a complete devices. I said the BTP mode will be what? Off now. And now if you see the do show VLAN brief, right? I do have this VLAN. Okay. Check the status right now. Do show BTP status. You can find that the BTP mode is off right now. Now, if I'm going to create the any VLAN on the switch 1, that's off right now. If you see, if I'm going to create the any VLAN on the switch 1, VLAN, take example, I have a 50510, right? Do so VLAN brief. I'm able to create the VLAN, right? He will send the information to the switch 2, right? But the switch 2 is saying, hey, my mode is disabled right now. My mode is off. So I cannot get this VLAN information. How about the switch 2, 3? Still the switch 3 will not, right? The reason is that you have disabled the BTP completely, right? You have changed the mode to the off mode. So you cannot hear the any BTP packets. So he's trying to share the VTP information, the VLAN 510, but mode is off. The BTP is disabled on this interface and this interface too. So I cannot even pass the VLAN information.